Ah!
I'm under attack from 4 and a bit battlefleets. In case you think I'm slacking.
Clara's in the iconic orange suit this time. Great shot. Wow. Great transition too.
It's okay to make ripples, but not tidal waves.
You are a tidal wave.
Don't say that.
Oh. Swords. Oh no. Oh. And the girl who died. Hey. That name rings a bell. Oh. Not bad. Not bad at all. Ah! Maisie! Finally! Oh my god. I talked about this years ago.
I had a dream you'd all died. It was so real I thought I'd made it happen.
Oh. Let's put a pin in that.
Sure you'll find some way to blame yourself.
For 2 days on a longboat.
Is she going to recognize them from her dreams or something?
I do have a plan.
There you go. You alright? Do you know her?
Never seen it before in my life.
Okay, so why are you staring?
I don't know. Nothing probably.
Ooh.
Too much time travel, it happens. People talk about premonition as if it's something strange. It's not. It's just remembering in the wrong direction.
Ah.
I have taken human form to walk among you. Do you not recognize the sign of Odin?
Odin, yeah. Oh my god. Don't do that.
I am
Odin. It's gotta be something science fiction-y, right?
Your mightiest warriors will feast with me tonight
In
the
Valhalla.
halls of Valhalla.
Yeah, there it is. The girl who died, eh? That's the title. Let's see. Ooh, look at the color grading on this. Beautiful. I've seen her look like that before in Game of Thrones.
Why are we still alive?
Adrenaline, testosterone, extracted from the
Ah.
finest warriors.
Right. Straight from the source, eh? Little TRT replacement. Nectar of the gods.
Go find Vikings on other planets. The universe is full of testosterone. Trust me, it's unbearable. How are you? See?
Clara! Clara! I'm not a hugger.
Go on then.
They're called the Maya. They're one of the deadliest warrior races in the entire galaxy.
Oh boy.
I am afraid.
Oh,
Hold me, mother.
baby talk.
I'm afraid. I applaud your courage, but I deplore your stupidity. And I will mourn your deaths, which will be terrifying,
Use a different tactic.
painful, and without honor. Fire and water.
She knows that look.
You just decided to stay.
Enough theory! I'm handing out the real swords.
You can only get so.
That could have gone better.
I was gonna say you can only get so far on theory.
Turning them into fighters. It's not like you.
Yeah. I used to believe that too.
What happened?
You. Oh, Clara Oswald.
What have I made of you? To a Viking, that's all the difference in the world.
Good death. Is that the best they can hope for?
A good death is the best anyone can hope for. Unless you happen to be immortal.
No problem.
You all need to get a hobby.
I've got a hobby. Thanks. It's you, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say
We'll get a new one.
there's a lot of
We meet again, fake Odin.
interesting
Valhalla
dialogue
burns
here.
around you. Your
in these
army
conversations.
is destroyed.
A needle.
Now it is time for you to die.
Because if you make up the right story, then you think it'll keep them safe, and they'll all come home. That's okay. You're not the first person to ever have done that.
Yeah, yeah.
This is my place. The sky, the hills, the sea, the people. Is there nowhere like that for you?
Oh, I recognize the view as much as anyone.
But
Can't wait for the next one.
I pity you. I've always been different. All my
Yeah.
life I've known that.
Get into that.
The girls all thought I was a boy. The boys all said I was just a girl. My head is always full of stories. I know I'm strange.
You can relate. You can relate.
Everyone knows I'm strange. But here I am loved. You tell me to run, to save my life. I tell you that leaving this place would be death itself.
You were born for this. Show them a story they'll never forget.
Oh, how cool. Oh, I like that. Oh. She's got quite the imagination, doesn't she?
That's enough of show. The story's over. Happy ending.
Oh. Oh. I thought she's gonna be stuck or something. Fight smart. Wait, it looks authentic, doesn't it? Looks good. Doesn't look cheap.
You saved us all. Hilda.
Oh no. No.
Hilda?
The girl who died.
I plugged her into the machine. Used her up like a battery.
Look at the tears in his eyes. The light's catching it. I like that.
I'm so sick of losing.
You didn't lose.
He lost.
You saved the town.
I'll lose any war you like. Sick of losing people. Look at you. With your eyes, you're never giving up. To anger, kindness. And one day, the memory of that will hurt so much that I won't be able to breathe, and I'll do what I always do. I'll get in my box and I'll run in case all the pain ever catches up. In every place I go, it will be there. There's nothing I can't do. Nothing. But I'm not supposed to. Ripples, tidal waves.
Rules.
Rules. I'm not supposed to.
Does he remember now? Why she seem familiar?
What?
Oh.
My face. You've thrown me this face. Why this one? Why did I choose this face? It's like I'm trying to tell myself something. I think I know what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
Someone. Not the whole town. Just save someone.
Come with me.
Oh, wow.
This face, I know what it's for. To remind me. To hold me to the mark. I'm the doctor. And I save people. And if anyone happens to be listening, and you've got any kind of a problem with that, to hell with you!
Ooh. A lot of callbacks. Little Jon Snow.
Oh, wait, no, she'll want to see you when she wakes.
Oh, no, well, she'll see me often enough once she understands.
Understands what?
Second dose.
But you need to take this.
No, it's not for her.
Then who's it for?
Whoever she wants. Don't thank me yet, Hilda.
Yet.
Not yet.
Interesting setup. Doesn't feel like that's the last of her, is it? Doesn't feel like it. Especially how he just exited.
I'm not sure, but it's entirely possible she has lost the ability to die.
The ability?
The girl who died.
Dying is an ability, believe me. She may now be functionally immortal.
Immortal, yeah.
If the repair kit never stops working, then
Why'd you give her a second
why
one?
did you give her two?
Immortality isn't living forever, that's not.
You need someone. Her father.
Immortality is everybody else dying.
Yeah.
She might meet someone she can't bear to lose.
That too.
That happens. I believe.
Wow.
Just possibly I've made a terrible mistake. Maybe even a tidal wave. Yes, she did.
It's quite the choice, though.
But Hilda isn't just human anymore. A little piece of alien inside her. So in a way, she's
Hybrid. Ah. We're all hybrids.
she's a hybrid.
Huh. Oh, it's showing me the passage of time. You... Wow. Yeah, much to talk about. I mean, listen, I think I might have a classic on my hands here. I don't know, all of a sudden there's this tonal shift. And actually, before I go any further, I can't say the entire episode as a whole is a classic, but once that tonal shift happens, my goodness, it becomes perhaps one of the most important episodes of Capaldi's era of series 9. I mean, the last 10 minutes, because essentially 35 minutes or 36 minutes in, the story kind of concludes, doesn't it? Right? And it's functional and it's solid, right? I liked it. There's much to like about it. The setting itself, it's got a lot of goofy elements. So of course the tonal shift really hits. It really hits, doesn't it? Right? It is quite effective in that sense. Of course it kind of follows a bit of the Seventh Samurai, doesn't it? And yeah, I think it makes for a great little one and done type story. That segment of it, right? The first half an hour, 35 to 36 minutes of it. Though of course, by the end of it, and I'll, you'll notice I'm not really speaking on that just yet, but it did say to be continued. So it didn't really leave off on a traditional cliffhanger per se, in comparison to perhaps the last 2 episodes, right? Before the flood. I mean, that's like a full-on proper cliffhanger, textbook cliffhanger. This, on the other hand, is not. But, the sense I'm getting from this is that the story is going to continue. Her story is most definitely going to continue. I mean, that scene, that final moment of her out there. And then, again, the passage of time being depicted around her. I mean, I think there's some incredible acting on display there. A lot of credit goes to Maisie in that scene. No dialogue, but my goodness, does that face tell a story? Yeah. Of course, the idea or the concept of becoming immortal, perhaps in the early days, you live dangerously. There's a lot of excitement. You have a lot of fun. But then, as time goes on, those consequences start creeping in, right? The curse aspect of being immortal starts creeping in. Ultimately, you see that the doctor might feel that he might have doomed her to his own horrible fate, right? Living on forever, going on. Listen, I know, I sound like a broken record, but school reunion, once again, right? It just takes me back to that episode anytime this topic comes up. And, maybe let me kind of get into it. One of the reasons I really remember that is Tennant's acting. Those moments, they felt so raw and authentic. I have to keep going on. I have to keep on living. My goodness. School reunion. It's like, it's foundational in terms of my Doctor Who experience. So yeah, I love going back to that episode. I love thinking about that episode. It's just beautiful that, things that are set up all that time ago are still so relevant at this point, right? Of course, an incredible moment as I get a callback to the fires of Pompeii. And indeed, they do actually make it canon, right? They found a way to make it canon, and I loved how they do it. Right? The face serves as a reminder. Again, I don't want to get into that just yet. I'm going to have a full segment for it. But going back to Maisie's character, yeah, you see by the time, this, I suppose the centuries are kind of going by, passing her by. Yeah, as the camera starts closing in, that innocent smile, that playful smile, it's gone. You see someone who has become jaded. You see someone that is just full of bitter sadness, resentment even, perhaps. You see that final close-up of her face. Ooh, My goodness, that is, I don't know, man. At that moment, I was beginning to think of that line that I heard recently. It was Missy, of course, enemy and a friend and an enemy, right? So they've clearly hinted at her story continuing, and I'm speaking of Maisie Williams and her character. So it'll be interesting to see if it's like the next episode immediately, or if she is going to come back in maybe in the last few episodes of this series, right? But I'm excited, man. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that it's not just like a one and done, right? It's a high profile cameo. And then of course, for that reason, you see that it is understandable that they've taken this route for that character, right? This must have been at the height of Game of Thrones. Arya Stark, I mean, she was essentially portraying one of the most famous and popular characters at that time. I mean, of all time, really, if you think about it, right? Game of Thrones, cultural phenomenon, right? Shame how it ended, of course, but still, at that time, yeah, it was at the height of it, I'm thinking. So yeah, I'm really quite happy. And the thing is, I mentioned Maisie years ago at this point. I remember in one of my early discussions, maybe series 1, I think I mentioned something like, and I know Maisie's in one of these episodes as well. So yeah, it finally happened, folks. I saw Maisie in Doctor Who. Took a long time, took years actually to get to it. But yeah, it felt great. It did. But going back to Maisie and that close-up at the end, my goodness, the look in the eyes, the expression, the eyebrows. I mean, she herself also has eyebrows that could rival Capaldi's eyebrows, But yeah, so much. There's just so much being communicated in that close-up. So, that in itself makes it another really interesting and intriguing prospect the next time they do come across each other. And the Doctor himself, yeah, it feels that they are going to come across each other. He's really quite sure of it, right? And, there's this line of dialogue. He's like, oh, don't thank me yet, right? I think even at that point, before he almost has a breakdown inside of the TARDIS, not a breakdown, but kind of comes to, right? Starts thinking straight even, and begins to realize, I think I've made a terrible mistake, right? Yeah, it's interesting because the way it is set up, right? The face, who frowned me this face, and of course a callback to Tennant and Donna. Oh, Donna Noble, how I love Donna Noble. It's just incredible that even now her presence is felt. Her impact on the Doctor is it's there forever. I mean, she essentially was one of the most impactful companions the Doctor has ever had, right? Her stay might not have been the longest, but her impact is forever. That face is a reminder that perhaps rules can be broken sometimes to save one person, that it actually still might be ripples rather than tidal waves. And if you look at that example before this episode happens, there's not much in terms of repercussions, right? In terms of consequences. After he did save Capaldi's character's life and his family's life as well, right? Nothing up until this point. But, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean there might not be consequences. Hell, this could be it, right? Him remembering that, and then him putting this into motion, saving Maisie's character. And now, essentially, in the TARDIS, coming to almost immediately regret the choice he made, right? Because he became angry, emotional. It's quite reminiscent of the waters of Mars. Though there it's something a bit different, isn't there? There it's more so about, I can change this, so I am going to change it, right? Oh, I just got chills thinking about that episode again. And Tennant in that moment. My God, I need to go back to that episode. I really do. Here it's not quite as sinister in its presentation. It's actually, like I said earlier, quite triumphant. But subtext, I think at the end of the day, it might be a similar mistake nonetheless. You see that after a moment of reflection, he's having second thoughts, right? She lost her ability to die. Yeah. And, oh my goodness. The way he explains immortality, right? Immortality isn't living forever, right? That's not what it feels like. Immortality is everyone else dying, everyone else you care for dying, and you just kind of have to go on. And then, just repeat that cycle over and over again. My goodness. Listen, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. I'll keep shouting from the rooftops, Peter Capaldi. Exceptional as the Doctor. I mean, some of those somber moments near the conclusion, just him and Clara. My goodness, Peter Capaldi. Fine form. And, of course, Clara continues to be this emotional guide, doesn't she? You see that anytime he does doubt himself, she's there to remind him that he's doing the right thing. At this point, you see that Clara has absolute trust in the Doctor. But, going back to Capaldi in those scenes, those quiet moments, right, beautifully acted and written. I'm so sick of losing people. My God, he's just so raw in that moment, right? And then, of course, the focus kind of shifts to Clara at that moment. That, he does care deeply for her. That much is so clear at this point. And Clara knows this, of course. But, they keep alluding to this fear the Doctor has now, right? It's really there. It's really out in the open, right? For a few episodes now, him really concerned with any potential loss that he might have to face. Clara, that is, right? So they're really putting it out there, right? So I'll be honest, that makes me a little bit uneasy, puts me a little bit on edge, right? That they are really focusing on that now. I don't know, man. Jenna Coleman has been around for a long time now, right? So I don't know. I actually don't know if this is going to be her last season, or if she does continue into the next. But I do know the one after the next series is the Regeneration. Jodie comes in series 11. Yes, because series 10 is Capaldi's final series, I believe. So yeah, I don't know, man. To me, it is beginning to feel like a setup for Clara's potential exit. It's beginning to feel like that. And it's also a bit of a poignant reminder, isn't it, that it's actually grief and loneliness that drives the Doctor's endless traveling. This actually felt like a keystone episode, as I alluded to earlier. It really did. At least the final few moments of this episode, the final 10 minutes or so of this episode, really strong. And it really did feel like some of this season's thematic elements are being laid out. And, perhaps a bit of foreshadowing as well, actually quite a bit of foreshadowing. And, the thing I really liked here is that Maisie's character is really quite relatable to the Doctor himself, right? He can really relate to her, right? She feels like a bit of an outsider, bit of an outlier, right? Doesn't quite fit in into the mold. And I think it was kind of great to set that up earlier. And then, of course, a little bit later, you've got the immortality aspect coming in as well now, right? So, she's got that additional chip, I guess I'll call it a chip, that made her immortal. Now, listen, I'm not sure how people feel about that. My take on that is, yeah, maybe it's a one-time thing, because it does feel like, immortality was given to someone quite easily. But of course, he does modify it, right? And it is alien tech. It's not meant to be used on humans. So, him modifying it, and then, of course, seeing how it kind of plays out, it turns out it's a little bit too effective. It's a little bit too potent on humans. And I love that Maisie's character had this love for storytelling, a storyteller at heart. Our Doctor can certainly relate to that as well, right? Make it a good one. But going back to the doctor stating that she has lost the ability to die, I mean, look at that. You've got yet another impossible girl in that sense. I mean, the title is The Girl Who Died, but now it's essentially the girl who lived and lives on, essentially, right? I can see a lot of potential here. Now, I'm not sure how many more appearances she makes, given that this was at the height of Game of Thrones. But this sets it. This could be set up for something really quite grand. Now, I don't want to get too excited about this because I'm not sure how many more appearances she is going to make. If she is going to end up becoming a reoccurring character. I think if that was the case, I must have heard about it by now. So I'm not, it's almost as if I'm debunking my own excitement or my theory. It doesn't sound like she stuck around for the long run. There's also another take on Donna Noble's message all that time ago, I think. The face was meant to encourage him to appreciate what's within his power to do. And he had already saved the majority of the town, right? But he was upset that it wasn't everyone. He was upset that he lost her specifically as well. This is someone he got to know a little bit, got a bit closer to, right? And it just killed him, absolutely killed him to lose her. And if you do look at it from another perspective, or try to look at it from another perspective, you could argue that he twists it into the face, telling him that he has the power to save everyone. So the majority of the town wasn't enough, right? And you see even Clara is saying essentially the same thing. She's echoing the same thing. You did enough. You did all that you could. Sometimes one slips through. Sometimes you can't save everyone. But he wasn't having that. I can do anything, right? But he doesn't act on that. I mean, I suppose he kind of does act on it. But then, of course, he brings up the rules. The imaginary red line that he tries not to step over, but ultimately kind of does step over in this episode by the choice he does end up making in that heightened state. But earlier I spoke of the doctor feeling or believing now that he might have cursed her and doomed her to his own horrible fate, or a fate similar to his own. You see that the one thing he made sure is to give her a second chip. He knows he's been there and he's done that for a long, long time. But the delivery of that line of dialogue, she might meet someone that she cannot bear to lose. That happens, I believe. Oh my God, that is just, it just crushes you, doesn't it? And I think Clara does know that he means her, right? And then, of course, beyond that, the doctor has come across people that he cannot bear to lose, yet he does lose them. So he does not, at the least, he wanted to make sure at that point, even in the heightened state, that he does give her something, that he doesn't create yet another lonely god, right? But in that sense, you're putting that curse on someone else as well, because it's in her hands now, isn't it? And it's already essentially played out, right? This is all about time travel. So I'm sure the next time I do get to see Maisie's character, it is going to be in another era, right? So that's actually exciting. It really is. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. I mean, the final moments of this episode, the final 10 minutes or so of this episode, absolutely just steal the episode and just make it so important. Like I said, a keystone episode. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be coming back to this episode real soon in terms of how things play out for the rest of the series. I'm excited, man. Really quite excited. And if you enjoyed this, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, or perhaps even full length, timer-based full length, of course, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next exciting episode of Series 9. I'm all in, man. I'm all in. Until then, take it easy.